Good evening. Welcome to Kevin Toll Reads. So today I have a unique video. This was a suggestion from Hyde and Reed. If you haven't, subscribed to his channel, you should check it out. He has been putting up quite a bit of content lately, and so I always enjoy his videos on YouTube. So check his channel out. But this was kind of a suggestion by him on one of the comments on my videos, and I thought, you know what, that's a pretty good idea. So this video really is about series. I read a lot of series, and he made the suggestion, you might be interested in, what you've read, what you're reading, what you want to read type thing. And so these are series I've read, series I'm currently reading, and series I want to read. And there's quite a bit. And putting together this list was interesting because I really feel like I'm forgetting some, especially the ones I have read. But in terms of series, I categorize, in my opinion, a series as anything longer than a trilogy, so something that's 4 books or beyond. And so we'll start with series I've read. The Agent Pendergast series, if you've ever heard of them, that series, the books are by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. There's 22 books. I've read them all. I used to own copies of them in mass market paperback. I gave them to a free library. I probably one day will probably end up getting them again because I definitely would like to reread the entire series again. But I highly, highly enjoy Agent Pendergast as a character. He's definitely one that I would love to do in a future video of my deep dive character study. So that's probably going to be on the near future. There's a new one out in August, just as an aside. But to get through these kind of rapid fire, there's obviously the Robert Langdon series up here by Dan Brown. There's 5 books in that series. I've read all of those twice. There's the Dresden Files, another urban fantasy series. There's 17 books and one kind of short story collection book as well. And those are all by Jim Butcher. I've read that series twice. That is one of the series I have physical forms, but I always listen to on Audible because James Marsters does the narration on Audible, and he's fantastic. The Dark Tower series by Stephen King, there's 8 books in that. There's 7 core books, and then there's, the Wind Through the Keyhole. I've read the Dark Tower series, I believe 5 times. I think it might be actually 6, but I'm going to go with 5. I know it's 5. By far one of my favorite series ever. There's just, that probably deserves, and I'd have to do a lot of prep work, but that will be a video that I do put up sometime soon where I just talk in depth about those books. And more than likely what I'll end up doing is what I'm thinking about doing is I don't have obviously all of the Stephen King books that I've read, 75, 80 books. I don't have book reviews on the channel for all those books, but specifically, I probably next year will probably do another reread of the Dark Tower series, and I'll do a book review on each of the books, and then maybe do a final, do a kind of a 9th video in that series, and give you my overall thoughts about the series. Other series I've read, the Kid series by John Sanford, another big author that I really, really enjoy. The Kid series, Kid Llewellyn, there's 4 books in it. I've read that series twice, and so I really enjoy that. I've loaned it out to people as well, so it's fantastic. I really enjoy those. They're quick reads. Series I'm currently reading, and I had to kind of laugh at this because as I started categorizing this, and some of them I'm a little more in-depth into, and some of them I just kind of started and I need to get back to them type thing. But Harry Potter, obviously, I'm going to be on book 4. I've read the first 3 books. There's 7 in that series. That's by J.K. Rowling. There's Lucas Davenport series by John Sanford. There's 32 books in it. I'm on book 30. And so that's going to be one of my books for next week that I'm going to be reading. Cotton Malone series, I believe Nerdishly Active was the one who suggested this to me. I haven't heard from him for a while, so just FYI. I think there's 18 books in that. It's by Steve Berry. I'm on book 2. I think there's actually going to be a 19th book out next year as well. Scott Harvath series by Brad Thor. There's 25 books in it. I believe I'm on book 3 in that series. Matthew Scudder series, if I just posted my review of book 15, Hope to Die. There's 17 books and there's like a novella, and so I read all 15. I read 15 of the 17 and a half books. So the John Keller series by Lawrence Block, there's 6 books in it, really 5 books in a novella. I'm rereading that and I'm on book 4, which will probably be another book that's going to be on my list for next week. The Jack Reacher series, there's 28 books by Lee Child. The last 3 were written by Lee and Andrew Child, and those are the 3 that I haven't read. I believe there's more than likely going to be a new one come out in October, November. That's usually when they release the new books each year. I just need to read those ones. I started one on Audible. I just wasn't into the narration, not the narration, but the voice of Reacher when it's written by Andrew Child versus Lee Child is completely different to me, and I'm just gonna have to suck it up and read those last 3 books, because I definitely want to finish that series. It's another one I want to say that I've completed and knocked out. The Kingbird series by Ken Follett. There's 5 books in it. I've read the first 3 books, but I'm rereading them, and so it's been about 6 to 8 months, and I read The Pillars of the Earth, which is book 1, which is really book 1. There's actually a prequel book that was released later, but I need to get back into that and work on book 2. Another fantasy series that I listened to remotely, mainly on Audible because of Richard Ferrone. I believe it's Richard Ferrone. No, it's not Richard Ferrone. It's Victor Permeme, I believe is his name. But he does the Drizzt Do'Urden series by R.A. Salvatore, and there's 39 books in that series. And I believe I am on book 14 in that series. I believe I have 13 of them in Audible. And so I listen to those on Audible. They're fantastic. I have the first 3 books back there in physical form. The first 3 books, usually he does trilogies and then does 4-book kind of 4-book series. But it's an overarching series, and there's 39 books in it. I really enjoy them. I definitely would like to get back to it, but it's a massive undertaking. They're quick reads, though. I mean, definitely kind of palate cleanser type reads, but I need to get back into that as well. Series that I want to read. Obviously, I've been talking about this for a while. There's the Ken Liu Dandelion Dynasty up there, those 4 books. I've read his 2 short stories. I definitely want to start that. I'd like to get to that later this year. And get that knocked out, because I think that would be fantastic. I really am digging those 2 short story collections by him, so I think I'd really like this, but they're chunky books and I need to get to them. Louis L'Amour, thanks to Thomas at McNulty Book Corral, James at Little Big Library, I believe Ricky's Rockin' Reviews, Hyde and Reed, got me kind of started on Louis L'Amour. And so I read The Quick and the Dead. I definitely want to get some Louis L'Amour, get back into some Louis L'Amour. I am on a business trip next week, and so I think I might take one of a Louis L'Amour book with me on the plane. But the series that I want to read, and I started getting these, if you've watched any of my book hauls, is the Sackett series. And there's 20 books in that, and I haven't started it, but I would like to read it. There's another series by Lawrence Block called the Burglar series. It's the Bernie Rodenbar series. I know James at Little Big Library was doing some thrifting, and he came across 2 of those books in that Burglar series. I believe I have 9 of the 12. There's 12 books in that series. I've read the first 2 on Audible, but I'd like to start that series over and work on it next year. The Virgil Flower series for John Sanford. If you've watched any of my Lucas Davenport book reviews, Virgil is a character that works for the BCA in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he crosses over into the Lucas Davenport series a lot. And so, but he has his own standalone series, which is a 12-book series where Lucas is his boss, and I'd like to get into that as well and read that. And picking up some hard case crime books, I came across the Quarry series by Max Allan Collins. There are 16 books in that, and I believe I have the first 5 or 6 of those. And then maybe some hodgepodge, other one numbers in the series, kind of out of sequence, but I have them up there in my hard case crime shelf. I've recently picked up, if you saw another book haul, the first 3 books in the Millennium series, which is by Stieg Larsson. And then there's actually 7 books in that series after Stieg Larsson's passing. David Lagerkrantz, I believe, started writing, I think it's the 5th, 6th, and 7th book possibly. But you have The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is part, the first book in that main kind of trilogy of that series. I'd like to get to that. Another, kind of books you saw in one of my book hauls, I picked up several books in the Harry Hole series, and there's 13 books that are published by Jo Nesbø, a Norway author, and these books primarily take place in Norway. It's a detective series. I've read the first 2, The Snowman, and there's one other that I read, and I like to get back and start them again and just read that series, throughout. And there's 13 books in it, so it's doable. There's also, and I don't know, I think it was James that also came across one too, where there's a another small series by Lawrence Block. I mean, you can kind of tell there's many series by Lawrence Block, but it's the Chip Harrison series. And so that is another series that I would like to get to. There's 4 books in it. There's also the William Warwick series. I have, I think, the first 4 or 5 books over here. It's 6-book series currently. It's written by Jeffrey Archer. I'm going to read one of those books. The first book is on my TBR, and it's probably going to be added to my next week's reading list. So I'll be reading book 1 very, very soon. There was a comment, I believe it was by B80BBX, is like, hey, check out the Joe Pickett series, and that's definitely something that's been on my radar as well, by CJ Box. There's 24 books in it. It seems like, I believe Joe Pickett, if I'm correct, and I could be mistaken, is a game warden type thing, detective type thing, and so a lot of the books take place kind of out west Montana area, Yellowstone type thing, I believe. I could be wrong. But it's something I've had my eye on, especially in used bookstores, wanting to maybe pick up, the first 4 or 5 and see if I like it. So that's probably something I'll get into. I also have on Audible, they had kind of a premium member deal thing where I was able to pick up the Murderbot Diary books. There's 7 Murderbot books, and those are by Martha Wells. Several of them are kind of novella length, but there's a lot of people, especially in the fantasy kind of genre, that really think that these books are really, really well done. So I picked up several of those on Audible, and I just need to get to them. I believe I have 4 or 5 out of the 7, but I would like to start that as well. And then in going through this, when I was talking about Lawrence Block, I completely remembered that I forgot about the Evan Tanner. I read book 1 in the Evan Tanner series. So if you kind of jump back to the series I'm currently reading, the Evan Tanner series, I think there is 9 books in it, or 8, and I have them all up there. And I want to get back into that, the Evan Tanner series. I enjoyed the first book, and so I definitely want to dive back in and see if I can knock out some of those other books. I think they're really quick reads. Most of them are like 200-page books, and they're really fast. He started writing them in the late 60s, I believe, and so they're really enjoyable. And so, yeah, that's a lot. This is a long video. Yeah, a lot of series. I really enjoy returning characters, and as you can tell. And so I feel like I haven't read a lot of series, but I'm reading a lot of series, so hopefully I can keep bolstering the series that I have read. There's a lot of series I want to get to. So, I mean, there's a lot of content for the channel in the future, so that makes me excited and happy. So, if there's other series on here that you think by watching some of my videos that you might want to make a suggestion, please drop me a comment. I definitely will put it on my list. I kind of keep a list amongst my kind of reading file I have on my computer where I talk about, books that I would like to check out, or next time I'm somewhere I want to make sure, I have that kind of list handy where I can see if I can find these books either used or and when I get gift cards and stuff like that at Barnes & Noble. So drop me a comment. Hope you enjoy this video. Again, this was a suggestion by Hayden Reed. If you haven't had a chance, go check out his channel. He does some really interesting things. And so I really enjoy his channel. So until then, this is another video for Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. And I will talk to you guys later. Thanks.